honor and pride definitely are two things that Alpha Draconians or ancient reptilians definitely stand out for. It's pre-built within these beings. Just as humans are pre-built with emotions or judgments, jealousy, arrogance, ignorance, yeah, Alpha Draconians, particularly Alpha Draconians, are pre-built with pride and honor. And pride truly is these ancient reptilian groups. They come from a very deep level of reptilian core of consciousness, archetype of energy that's created within with the universal consciousness archetypes. And both of these concepts come in different forms because of these very specific, very unique type of extremely intense, powerful, dominant, and strong energies that these beings represent. That's consistent, that is constant inside of these beings, and where these powerful and intense energies exist within them. And their vortex points are different than ours. Obviously, their chakras are different. Their chakras are all red. Their energy flows through their spine. Their crown chakra, third eye, it's all in the back of their heads. Slightly different than ours, but they have very, very strong principles of life because of the pride and honor. Humans have no reference for. We have no reference. Their systems are so far different than any other extraterrestrial group within fourth or fifth density. From Pleiades to Andromeda, it's irrelevant. So humans do not understand Alpha Draconian consciousness. Not just humans on Earth, but humanoids on other locations, from Arcturus to anywhere else. These are different systems. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Boetis or Ursa Major or Ursa Minor or Lyra Hercules. It's irrelevant. Nothing can be related to the Alpha Draconian groups because most beings don't know them. They're so heavily protected and very private that their energy spectrum cannot be spied on. And all this really makes ancient reptilians extremely defensive and protective over their land, overprotective over their land and race, their children, their elders, retired military, regular military, their secrets, their crystals, their gems, their water, elemental energy, crystallized structures. Pride and honor is something that these beings are willing to die for instantly. Declaring a war against them, obviously it's a suicide, and they've never really lost the war. It doesn't matter from some fairy tale Disney story from Pleiades or Arcturus or Lyra, Draconian groups don't lose wars. And they're also, which I appreciate about them, they don't bug you unless you really bug them. But when you do bug them and offend them, they'll completely annihilate the race. From 0.0001% of insult, they'll completely remove a race out of an existence, completely removing it from the incarnation process. They're very, very dangerous and fierce type of group of beings. And I proudly channel them, of course, because they represent a lot of things that I also represent in human life, on a human level. But I've asked many different beings. I'm going to speak about a few different reptilian and draconian groups. I've asked THETA TAURI, white reptilians, one of the closest counterparts, what does pride mean to you? What is pride to you? And they specifically, I remember saying that pride is knowledge of yourself within yourself, all things that you believe in, all things you stand for, all things you love, appreciate, respect. These beings say never act out of pride. Don't go into the egomaniac aspect. Don't become arrogant. Don't become ignorant. Don't become a narcissist. Don't be fake. No fakeness. No insecurities, cowardice. None of these things are allowed in their societies, and this is what I appreciate. I think Earth has a lot to learn from reptilian beings, particularly strong reptilian war races. But THETA TAURI certainly explained it in several different ways. And then they also say too, who gives a shit whose feelings you insult? Who cares who you trigger? Do what you want in life. Don't harm people, but do everything else. And be very strong at it. Don't ever have fear. Who cares what people think? It doesn't matter what people think. It's irrelevant what people think. And I appreciate that aspect too. Too often humans worry about what will somebody else think. I've asked them also about honor. Honor, obviously, is a word in English, H-O-N-O-R, but most people just use it as a word. And THETA TAURI said that the honor is, to them, means obeying your word, never lying, delivering as promised, not manipulating, not deceiving, not tricking, no games, no gimmicks, doing things without apology, doing things without saying, oh, I'm sorry, may I, can I? Just don't be weak and passive and submissive. Don't be triggered. Don't allow somebody else's traumas to trigger your own. But honor is being strong in your external and internal strengths, particularly in your own mind. So we're now tapping into the conversation of mental warfare. Mental warfare. These beings are known for mental warfare. They're the only species of reptilian groups or draconian groups that use that term. Honor, I remember also he explained that it's telling someone that you're going to do something, for sure, and making definite promise to do so. And you must absolutely do it. Not under-deliver and over-promise. Not do too much. Just do as you promised. Without any excuses or bullshit. Do as you promised. Deliver as you promised. And I appreciate that. In all these years, they've never once disappointed me, took advantage of me or humans around me, my family members. And I've attended a few of their wars in a consciousness state, so I've seen what they do. This is why I always say human beings who work with reptilian consciousness, that's the greatest power you can achieve in this human life, hands down. Absolutely. But honor to them, again, is truth. And then truth to them is honor. And they always have these long educational statements, and they use a lot of terminology that I'm not familiar with. But because they're trying to take all of their experiences from their own societies and really dumb it down and summarize it and utilize the English vocabulary out of my own mind in order to explain something. But I know because of the emotions, they always say, never be triggered, never be offended. Never. Don't allow an emotion to have power over you. Don't allow somebody else's emotions or anger or rage or disrespect or narcissism or unhealed wounds or traumas in their own life that they never healed to trigger you. Just don't. Be unstoppable. Then I've asked a very peaceful, loving race of Yits from the Capella system, hybrid reptilians. I've asked them, I know you're not a war race. I understand that. You're a very peaceful reptilian hybrid group, and you had atrocities done to you by other reptilians. Borderline annihilation. On Capella, how do you see honor? And I remember he said, well, all it is we see honor as a nature of excitement. We ask ourselves, why do we exist? How can we help others? How can we crank up the voltage, I remember him saying, and then utilize our excitement to give it to someone else. He stated that mainly they use excitement, and they use a lot of excitement as their main fuel in life. And to them, that's honorable. And that's what he said. Honorable is helping others, working with other humans, working with other aquatics, working with other zetas, working with other reptilians, but not in any way that would be asking an Alpha Draconian how to do that, where this being from Capella and their race will only work with excitement. Excitement was his focus. I remember him saying that. Excitement is my focus, and to me, that's honorable. And I absolutely respect that, absolutely. In 2022, which I talked about in my book, KALASK, My Path to Thubin, a book I released in 2025 on me becoming a channeler, but also working with Alpha Draconian groups, I work with one of the most, humbly put, the most dangerous Alpha Draconian pure blood races, the most darkest, the most powerful, just below Sakar, so 5th in rank, by the name of Dimonga. And this took 1 year to work with them on mental warfare programs in 6th density state. And when I finished, they asked me, they said, you wrapped up your program with this fine, you didn't quit. We're going to give you a privilege. I was like, well, what do I get for free? What kind of a freebie do I get? He goes, we're going to give you 3 questions. So 3 questions, ask anything you want. So one of the first things I said, what does honor mean to you? What does it mean to you? And he said, honor is a word to humans that's created in your English language. And humans have created it in their English language. They use it all the time in their statements to make themselves feel better. They know they're cowards. They know they're pieces of shit sometimes. They're narcissists and liars, but they say that word to make themselves sound better. And he says, we don't need to use that word. We don't even have that word. We don't use language. But if we did, we would never use that word. Because honor, pride, these things of defensiveness, overprotection, this is embedded in their genetics. And he said that through physical barriers and planes, so astral planes, the different planes, dimensional planes, different dimensional layers, density layers, and their own planes, so 6.99 density, nothing can penetrate or destroy their own commonality, their own loyalty to their race, their proudness that they have for their children, for their hybrids, for their elderly, for their women, for their society and their families. And he says when you have full courage, capacity, and no resistance in form of your own consciousness, then you are equivalent to a reptilian. Then, Anthony, you're equivalent to reptilian consciousness. And those words absolutely stayed with me. I mean, demon god probably, and Sikaar would be the most menacing races I've ever met. But that advice was just fascinating. And I've asked KALASK, obviously, on honor, on pride, on many things. I ask him everything from personal life to business. I see these beings, and when they come in groups. When I travel, they come in groups. Every time there's a emotion that disrupts and puts me out of an alignment, they'll come. They're extremely helpful, like a family. And I said to them, what's pride to you? And he said, from a human feeling, human imagining, humans do not understand what pride is to us. You cannot. He goes, but from your English descriptions, your dictionaries, these words are funny to us. They're humorous, they're comical, they're dumb, because humans are making up words to define a statement, something that they don't have. Pride is being accepted. Pride is understanding. Pride is that, to them, this is him saying that we're proud of greatness. We're proud of a collective of beings, physical beings, that through wars and hardships and defending themselves and fighting wars and defending themselves throughout their entire existence in the universe when they came here first and got attacked. Hence the start of the Orient Wars. All they've done things with pride. They've done things with honor to survive, to live. And he goes, that's greatness. We've achieved that level of military, that level of defensiveness, that level of awareness, that level of, but also too, position in the hierarchy system. The perfection, as he calls it. And now they're just bored, and now they're just philosophers. So the respect, the admiration, the appreciation, loyalty, brotherhood, family values, this family bond, this family unity, all of these things he has described as honor, because they implement it into their lives, they give it to their family members, and they all share these things continuously. And this is what makes them so great. So it's natural to them, he says. It's identical to each member of the KALASK race. I remember he says at the end, it goes, to be honest, we know nothing different. We wouldn't even know how to be fake. We wouldn't even know how to lie, because we don't have that as part of our system, our operating system. So he concluded that humans just have this word honor to make themselves feel amazing or strong or tough or more philosophical or intellectual or smarter or educated, or you have better principles than somebody else does. But no, originally I do remember him explaining that when the Anunnaki monkeys truly stole the DNA or smuggled the DNA from the Draconian hybrid group, then when they implemented it into themselves and created first versions of humans, those humans obviously didn't speak anything that they needed to. They were fully telepathic. They're much more bigger, stronger, wiser, smarter, intelligent than we are today. But they had a large level of honor and pride within their genetics. So later on, as more of our DNA was polluted with other races and other groups, particularly humanoid groups that to this day hate us, then that honor level, the bravery level, the courage level, the pride level was definitely taken away from our DNA. So it was reverted, humans reverted from their own reptilian genetics and pulled further away from their genetics of reptilians or their reptilian genes. And on multiple occasions, Earth reptilians who are here, population of 800 million on Earth, fourth density and early fifth density, have protected us, helped us, but we've turned our backs to them. Hence why they dislike us to this day. So when it comes to these characteristics of ancient reptilian consciousness, their power, their immense and potent levels of pride and intellect is something that we do not have an understanding. It doesn't help in any way that in the spiritual industry today, in 2026, I mean, I go to a lot of expos, I'm an underground channeler, but I still get invited to certain things, the most censored channeler. But all we have is amateurs and grasshoppers and love and light, unicorn and rainbow, mermaids who are worshiping external saviors, extraterrestrial ships of these non-existing federations. And these humans are definitely spreading fear. Anti-reptilian, anti-draconians, walk away from darkness. Darkness is bad. Light has won. What the fuck do you mean by that? Darkness is bad, but light has won. How in the world can someone propose and promote ascension without incorporating all that's dark within them, without understanding that you must incorporate light and dark and heal all aspects of yourself in order to reach a perfect level of duality? You're not ascending anywhere. These are fear-mongerings, and this is what the human race is not growing. And I talked about a lot of this in my book, my KALASK book, but In conclusion, truly enabling reptilian keys and the integration of Alpha Draconian or ancient reptilian consciousness and energy, meaning the DNA contributions that are within us. So enabling and embracing the serpent energy within us is the largest power that a human can accomplish as far as human life is concerned. How in the world can human beings think that they can go from 3D directly to 5D? Well, what happened with the feed 4D? 4D you haven't even worked on, meaning you were running away from the darkness. You were running away from the reptilianness within you. You were running away from your reptilian DNA, your draconian DNA. Instead of being a sponge and student in life, which I consider myself to be, and learning all that there is from all races equally, unfortunately, most people are not growing because they're running away in fear. I personally focus on being proud in what I do every day and how to best serve my soul. I focus on satisfying my soul, satisfying my mission here in life, not the society or some primitive energy harvesting church or cult. Proudness to do, proudness to be, and proudness to serve. Shortly put, it's the greatest simple basic advice KALASK has ever taught me. Proudness to do, proudness to be, and proudness to serve.